All right. There we go.
There we go.
I see us. Although I think it just started with me explaining that we needed to get past that part. Oh, that's all. I thought I waited long enough, but apparently I didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 204, your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Steve.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, usually some Star Trek. All super chats are read on the air so long as they won't permanently demonetize my channel. And what comes after that? I don't remember.
I
just drew a blank.
We got any sponsors?
Not until 30 minutes in.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're drinking alcohol on the show?
Yes,
and if you're drinking with us, alcoholic or not, I just completely lost the plot. I was going well and I was in a rhythm and then it just went, it's gone.
Yeah, it just goes away.
Nope. We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we'll give some early show shoutouts as we go along. And if you like the content you see on this channel and want to help support us in what we do, think about joining the Patreon or Float Plane, where you can get access to my exclusive Discord server, chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and take part in the awesome and ever-growing community that hangs out over there. Seriously, was going to be one of my best intros, and then just
and then you just had that brain fart right there. Boop.
Yep.
And
it's gone
too. Yep.
I was even focused.
You sit there. I'm live. What's my line again?
Line.
Yeah, you need some cue cards.
Yeah.
Your daughter's old enough; she can stand there and hold the cue cards for you. And
right.
It's like, honey, you don't have to go to bed if you hold the cue cards for me.
Novella Hub says, looks like I picked a good night to wear a Star Trek shirt. Yes, I figured
that's right. Yeah,
it's October. I might as well start the month in style. So
yes,
figured I'd start with the old 2009 reboot. Go with Science Officer, and
you have multiple Star Trek shirts of different ones. Yeah. I figured you would.
I got a couple different ones of these. I've got a next gen. I'm working on a couple more. So
I think my wife still has the original series nurse outfit.
Oh yeah,
yeah, from the original series. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's obvious that we need a beverage tonight.
Yes, I know. I need to focus.
Yes, need a little focus. Steve, what are you drinking tonight?
Okay. So tonight I have 3 wildly different types of beers. First, I have an IPA, actually a mosaic IPA from Caldera Brewing. They're in Ashland, Oregon, in this nice purple can. And it's called When Doves Cryo. So it's a hazy mosaic with cryo hops.
Yeah.
So that's where the cryo comes from.
Very cool.
And then I have one of Left Hand Brewing. Everybody knows and loves their milk stout.
Their nitro.
Yes. Yes, their nitro milk stout is excellent. But they have a peanut butter milk stout now. So hoping that's going to be really good because I like their normal stout. And for something a little more on the tart side, I have from New Terrain Brewing, Walk in the Parfait.
So that's a good name too.
Yeah, I know. It's a sour raspberry and lemon yogurt sour beer.
Nice. For myself, I'm going with a Northwest classic. I've got the Frame from Hood River, Oregon, the Big IPA. This one's clocking in at 8.2%. Very, very classic West Coast IPA. And then I decided to go out in left field and go for something that completely does not match. So I went with a vanilla chai latte, wake and bake, coffee oatmeal imperial stout 2020 reserve from Terrapin Beer in Athens, Georgia.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, and it's all that's the name.
That's
it's just.
It sounds delicious, though. I mean, it sounds really good.
Skål, good luck.
Yeah.
This one's clocking in at 9.4. So
wow, that's a heavy hitter.
yeah, heavy hitter. But I was going, you know what sounds good tonight? Like the last couple of days, it started to feel like fall, where it's no longer summer. It's not like a late summer rain. It's truly feeling like fall. Like we had
It's
a
like
couple
the dark beer weather. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, you know what? Like vanilla and chai just sound so good. And so I don't go pumpkin spice. I go chai in the fall.
Chai. Yeah, it's kind of the same. I think they got a lot of the same spices. I'm actually having a hard time finding pumpkin beers. Not for me. My wife loves pumpkin beers, so I try to find some for her. And it's usually I have to go to a specialty store like John's Marketplace to find pumpkin beers because no place around here sells them. And if they do, they're usually gone. So.
All right. We got a couple shout outs. And Steve, if you want to go ahead and pour yours, and then I'll
sure.
pour mine.
I'm going to start off with let's start off with the IPA.
Miek says, look, Jeff's in uniform. Yes, I am. Let's see. When do the shout outs start? We got a Lucas. Lucas drinking a Sam Adams Oktoberfest. Excellent timing on that. Michael drinking a Three Floyds Barbarian Haze IPA, New England style, 6.5%. Jeremy's got drinking a Mountain Dew, not a Diet Mountain Dew. Didn't want to throw you under the bus or anything there. William's got a Invictus Brewing James Maple Pecan Nut Brown Ale, 6%. Let's see, anything else? Skull drinking a Fair State Brewing Cooperative Double Universe Double IPA.
Double IPA.
Whoa!
Uh-oh.
I just about broke a glass.
It's a good thing it was empty too. I mean,
I hadn't popped the cap yet, so
real travesty. If
it shot straight at my mixer, my audio mixer. It's like, well, that's going to be the stream for tonight. Steve, you want to take it from here?
Do it solo, guys.
Good night, everyone.
I got this.
Slim Bickens drinking a Natty Light Tall Boy because I'm a broke alcoholic.
Yeah.
And Craig's got a Coke Zero Sugar. Beer fixed my diabetic medication, sadly. That sucks. Yeah,
that is horrible.
Yep. Yeah, I've been on medications where I can't drink and whatnot. Yep. And again, it's not like I drink a lot.
Yeah.
But I like having a beer with dinner. And not being able to do that, it's a little bit of a bummer.
Kind of sucks, yeah.
Yeah. Starting off with the Freem Big IPA.
2 IPAs. Mm-hmm. So 1 IPA for me, 1 IPA for you.
And you had the Caldera, right?
Yeah, the Caldera. Yeah. It's pretty good, actually. It's very more sweet than malty, or more malty than hoppy.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I forgot to check the percentage on that. It is 6.9.
Tanmay says those pumpkins on Steve's camera remind me of the Manscaped ad.
Oh yeah. It kind of does, doesn't it?
That is still one of my favorites to run.
It's too bad I don't have the horn pointing straight up.
By the way, they signed on through the end of the year. So
they did.
Yeah.
They must have liked it then, huh?
Yeah, they liked it, and that one's been a fun one. So I'm hoping Manscaped kind of becomes a staple on the channel because it's fun to play on that one.
It is. Oh yeah. Who doesn't like a little potty humor?
Right. Boy, a lot of mosaic in this one. A lot of mosaic.
Yeah, mine's a lot of mosaic too. In fact, it's right there on the can, hazy mosaic. Not that there's anything wrong with mosaic. It's delicious.
No. But very, very juicy. Very, very juicy. Big tropical flavors like pineapple and tangerine. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surprisingly easy to drink. And yeah, at 8.5% almost.
Right.
It don't taste like that. So
someone's asking, where do you guys buy your beers, IPAs? Around where I live, there's not that many good places. I mean, our liquor store has a few good stuff, but
yeah, they got a couple coolers, but
right, yeah, but nothing spectacular. If we're looking for good rare stuff, I'll usually go up to John's Marketplace in Multnomah Village up in Portland, and that place is awesome. I mean, it's just literally a shopping store full of beer.
It's think of your old corner grocery stores. Like gosh, I'm trying to think of some ones that are around here. Anyway, the tiny little grocery stores that has like 6 aisles and whatnot, and like maybe one cooler section for basically the essentials. It's a little bit bigger than a 7-Eleven, but it's not a Safeway or something like that. John's Marketplace is a converted small grocery store that is nothing but wall-to-wall beer.
Yeah, I think there's some wine too, but mostly beer, cider, meads there also, of course.
That's just off Terwilliger, up in
it's right off, it's in Multnomah Village. There's one, I think there's a second location that they opened up. I forget where, right. But
so that's a great place in Portland to go, or near Portland to get beer. If you're down towards Salem, Center Market is the place to go.
Yes.
And it's kind of the same thing where it's a small grocery store, smaller than John's Marketplace, but just as good of a selection of beer. And it's gosh, I want to say 120 feet long, maybe. It's only 4 aisles in that 120 feet, but 3 of those aisles are nothing but beer and wine.
Yeah.
And you'll find anything you want there.
Yeah, good selection there too. Yeah. Anywhere from your staples to like your big bourbon barrel aged whatnots.
And that they are on 17th and State in Salem. That's usually my go-to. There's a couple other little ones.
Yeah, closer than John's Marketplace.
Yeah.
Obviously.
All right. Let's go ahead and get into what should have been the happiest news of the year. And darn it, they managed to fix the routers.
I know.
We're talking, of course, about the Facebook outage that happened on Monday. Facebook's longest outage since they opened the site in 2008 to the public.
Yeah.
Remember when Facebook started? It was like a college
only.
Thing.
Yeah.
College only. You had to have a college email account.
I was actually. I know. I still got in.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I got it on the beta. No, it wasn't hard.
Yeah. But yeah, you had to have some kind of an educational, higher ed email address to get into it. But they went public in 2008 and said, yeah, anyone can join it. This is their largest outage since that time. So this was no small thing. And it wasn't just like, a server went down. This was a catastrophic domino effect.
Yes.
Of this is an engineer's worst nightmare.
Yes,
is
epic
what happened.
Proportions.
Yes.
Yeah. I still think the funniest. I mean, we'll get to it later, but there's some actually kind of humorous. I think it's funny anyway.
As an outsider, I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think it's hilarious. It's like, God, glad I'm not that guy who screwed up.
Right. So when you're thinking of resiliency and or disaster recovery, those usually go hand in hand with each other. And there are multiple employees that's their job is to think of resiliency plans, uptime, reliability, that kind of thing, distribution, separate networks, separate routes. What happens if X goes down? Well, Y will pick up the slack. And there needs to be also an A, B, C, D, E attached to that as well, because you're kind of a big service and important to a lot of other smaller services. So when you're out planning the resiliency of a site, it's oftentimes actually better to host your own infrastructure entirely. That is, literally run hundreds of thousands of miles of fiber line, thousands of miles of fiber line, not hundreds of thousands. How many times are we going to circle the Earth?
World. Yeah.
No, like thousands upon thousands of miles of fiber line to connect your data centers that you own brick and mortar all around the world. And then you hook into major switching points. And so it is your routers, your servers, your switches, your infrastructure, literally end to end until the start of the internet. And then you distribute from there. And that's how you can ensure resiliency, is geoseparation and everything else that goes along with that. The second thing is what happens if a system breaks or multiple systems break? How can we get in and fix it? How can we restore service? What are our protocols for all this? Basically, the issue as it was stated by Twitter, or by Facebook.
By Facebook,
was that this was a routine update, upgrade, maintenance window where they were taking a set of servers offline to update core switches and routers. So whether it was firmware, whether it was security patches, whatever else, they're taking a subset of their routers down so they can patch those routers and then bring them back up. But again, if you're router A, you have B, C, D, E, F taking up the slack, and you design your peak load to be able to handle that. Well, what happened was, during the update, a particular command was sent, literally one line command.
Yeah.
Whether it was, save and reboot, whether it was clear table, whether it was clear ARP, whether some kind of clear pushed
delete system 32.
Right.
Something like that.
Well, it was delete your IPv6 table, delete your routing table. And when you are your own router and your router, let me back up a little bit. So they entered a command that essentially cleared routes so they could clear their cache and then make sure everything was fine and then bring them back up. It was part of the plan. It was part of the routine for that particular day. When they issued the command, that command is supposed to have checks and balances within their own routing software that doesn't allow it to be ran. A bug in their system allowed that command to go through without secondary authorization. And when the command went through, it cleared everything at their top level, which crashed, or which basically destroyed the routing table between all of their data centers globally. When that happens, DNS is still supposed to be able to point and say, no, their data center is actually here. Because we already have the routes. We're going to stop receiving routes or receiving updates for our routes. We're just going to give the static information that we already have. And hopefully that is good. What happened was the DNS, rather than doing that, froze entirely, basically as a safety protocol to itself, because they also had checks and balances in there to make sure that routes weren't being spoofed and some takeover wasn't happening of DNS. And so DNS just flat out stopped responding. So they broke BGP, which is Border Gateway Protocol, which is the backbone of internet routing. It is, if you own Facebook.com and you own the data center for Facebook.com, you establish the routes and then you present those routes to your border gateway, and it's a BGP link. In a nutshell. Don't correct my nomenclature. It's close enough for the explanation we're going
for the
to.
explanation, yeah. In a nutshell. Anyway, when that route breaks, DNS is supposed to pick up the slack and say, no, I remember he was here. Like, where's Facebook? Right. I don't know.
DNS stopped responding entirely as well. Two things happen when you own your own infrastructure and DNS stops responding. Everything else stops responding. And all of your internal services and troubleshooting tools and protocols and everything else also stopped responding. So not only did Facebook go down, but all of Facebook's internal tools, networking software, diagnostic tools, backend support, access control for their buildings, security locks for their cages, all went offline.
Everything,
Everything went down.
All the security, all the automated security protocols.
Yeah. Their blog said DNS servers pulled out their related BGP announces. No, what happened was they cleared the BGP and then DNS pulled those. Yeah, DNS pulled those down and blanked their own cache as well. And so this was a fail that required physical access to every data center around the world. Now, mind you, data centers on a day-to-day operation aren't staffed with 500 people. They're staffed with 20 people responsible for taking this server out and replacing bad hardware.
Yeah.
99% of work in a data center is done remotely because you're not sitting down at the computer. You're simply logging into the network and working on whatever node you need to work on, or whatever cluster, or whatever else. So the people in the data center rarely even have keys to get in. And in the case of Facebook's data center, there are no physical keys on the server rack doors. It's all part of access control. So if an employee in the data center needs to replace a node, they are given a 5-minute window to open that server rack with their authentication card, which is then, ID'd and logged of who opened that particular node. And that's your access window. If that doesn't open...
Yeah. That's kind of the thing. I was reading a couple articles.
Mm-hmm.
They never explained exactly how they circumvented that. Did they just get some jaws of life and just rip the thing open? I mean, what did they do?
There's a third article I posted, and some of this is just a verbatim repetition of what Facebook said in their blog, but this is from Market Research Telecast, and they did a pretty good write-up on some of the anecdotal stories that were coming down through Twitter. Because Twitter was one of the only social media networks that was still operational because so many other places use that for a backbone.
MySpace was still there.
Reddit took the opportunity to send me a push notification and said, hey, you have a lot of free time all of a sudden? Why don't you try browsing Reddit for 30 minutes?
Check us out now. Come on back now.
Well done. That's blitz marketing. That's good job. Anyway, so a lot of this article is just repeating what was said in the blog post and kind of summarizing what happened. But if we read a little further down, there was speculation, as it were, about Facebook employees quite literally being locked out of server racks and going and buying angle grinders and opening server racks that way.
Okay.
So, anecdotal, unofficial,
Who
definitely
knows?
could have happened, though.
Could, yeah. I mean, if that's we got to get in there somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And just get an angle grinder would work.
Mm-hmm. Angle grinder, crowbar. How do you access a data center that's not supposed to be accessed and has no physical override?
Yeah.
Brute force kind of becomes the operation of the day.
That's the only way of doing it. Yeah.
And I'm guessing this isn't going to turn into like a lockpicking lawyer episode where he grabs a rare earth magnet and holds it to the side of a relay, and all of a sudden the server unlocks.
Pops open.
It could. I don't know what they actually have in their data centers. But
they probably want to keep it secret, I would imagine.
Right. Well, actually, a lot of Facebook's data center plans are open sourced. They actually are part of the open source server initiative, and they release plans on what are our nodes that we install for storage, compute, AI, everything else that goes behind it. And so they say this is how we build our servers. And
Does
a lot
include
of
hardware specs too?
Yeah, that literally is the hardware. It's the chassis, it's the hardware internals, it's how they specified them to be put together, it's how many servers in a rack, how many racks in a node, how many nodes in a cluster. It's the full write-up of everything within their data center. Now, I don't know if access control was part of that write-up. But yeah, if you wanted to build your own Facebook data center, you can't run Facebook servers on it, obviously,
Right,
but you could
but
literally
you could do the
mirror
infrastructure,
the infrastructure that they've rolled out.
Sure, I'll just do
Anyway,
that.
the other interesting anecdote was Facebook had announced a couple of months ago that they would be leaving the NLIX exchange node in the Netherlands. And that is a major exchange node, and it is used for essentially a centralized hub for routing traffic. It is... Think of it like a roundabout. Closest analogy I can think of. It is literally where everything merges together, and then everything. It's more like LAX. It's an international airport, and so all traffic kind of comes into there and then goes out wherever it needs to go. But it's a central location that everything comes first. They announced that they were no longer going to be broadcasting or being a part of that node, and so the speculation is this BGP outage, which this was a routing pullback, is what caused this entire downfall. Was because they had to take out a high-profile node or a high-profile router. The other routers picked up that broadcast and decided to blank their caches as well, which DNS then picked up because everything else had done it. Everyone else was jumping off the bridge.
Everyone else is doing it.
Right.
Yep.
So that's kind of the working theory, is this may have been because of the pullout at NLIX that just caused a cascade effect that literally went down to every last individual service that Facebook hosts internally and externally.
Yep. Yeah, because Instagram went down, and so did WhatsApp or whatever. WhatsApp.
Yeah, WhatsApp.
WhatsApp.
Something just hit me in the eye. It's the weirdest thing. I don't think it was sweat, because I'm not sweating that much. It's not like
You need a sweatband.
Yeah.
You need a sweatband. Get that sweat out of your eyes.
I've said a couple of times. I'm not a big guy. Like, I'm tall, but I'm not big. I'm
not
6.
big, yeah.
I'm 6'5", but I'm only 220 pounds. I have Kevin James syndrome. Is the best way I can describe it.
You just like sweat.
I sweat like crazy. I always have. And actually, some medication that I'm on, one of the side effects is profuse sweating.
Profuse sweating, yes.
So yeah, my favorite thing is, what were you doing? Jumping rope in the attic? Peeled an orange about an hour ago.
That's about it.
So it's like 68 degrees down here, like, 15, or I guess it'd be closer to 18 C. Yeah, I'm sweating like crazy.
Just lifting up that beer
with a fan pointed at me, mind you. like I have this guy pointed at me in my office like all the time, and it's just a stream of air right on my face. This is still
you gotta have like the Southern Baptist type of cloth where you have it in your lapel and you just take it out and when you're talking, oh man, when I tell you son of a
I'll say it again. Yes.
Then every once in a while you just gotta go like this.
Yep. I don't speak in tongues that well.
Well, you can do the snake charming one. where they dance with the snakes, the rattlesnakes.
Novella Hub says token ring, one ring to rule them all.
Token ring, yeah. Gosh.
There's a callback. Would you jump off a cliff if all your friends did it? Facebook servers, probably.
Yeah, that's exactly what they would do.
Yep. So yeah,
this was basically Facebook's Chernobyl. It's their Chernobyl. I'm sure HBO is going to pick up the rights to it. Their DNS will be played by John C. Reilly or something.
Yeah, and for those wondering, this is the major hardware 3D printed file. It's his take on the Noctua AAS, which is they've been threatening to bring it out as a product, I think, since 2016. And the story goes that the CEO was really hot in his office. The AC wasn't working as well as it should. And so he literally went and designed an airfoil fan out of one of their, so he designed the cowling, and then they've brought it to like every major trade show since then, but they've never developed it into a full product. Well, Major Hardware, by the way, fantastic YouTuber, fantastic channel, a lot of 3D printed content, a lot of fans, but he does a lot of really
literal
cool stuff.
And people who watch it.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Both.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah. So he looked at like images of it and recreated a 3D STL that you can download and print one for yourself. And so he goes, I saw the thing in person. I know exactly what it is. I did modify mine ever so slightly. I built myself a little controller box on the back that is a USB micro input, but it's a variable power supply, or it's a step up and step down. So if I give it 5 volts through micro USB, I can actually crank that all the way up to like 20 volts. And so if I want to overdrive my fan, I totally can. So yeah, I think usually I run this about 16 volts. And it's still, I've got a Be Quiet fan in Noctua's design. I know I'm surprised it's not like spontaneously combusting. But
I can't hear it. I mean, I heard it when you brought it close to your mic.
Right. No, this is almost always on in my office anymore, pointed at my face wherever I'm at, just to help keep me cool. And it works amazing. Like this has been awesome. I have like 2 or 3 of these around the house for various things. So yeah. Anyway, go subscribe to Major Hardware after you're done watching this show.
Not right now. I mean, you can open up another tab. Just don't.
I would say open up another tab first.
Oh, you can open up.
Then go check out Major Hardware. Yeah, cool guy. All right. In other news, Twitch, not to be outdone.
Now, exactly. This is another Facebook hold my beer situation.
Yeah, quite literally.
You
know, if we ever do a news segment on any. Like if I do like Paul does his Sunday news is, if I ever do a weekly segment like that, like a segment show, it needs to be Hold My Beer. That needs to be the name of the show.
Hold My Beer.
Yeah.
Just one disaster after another.
Yeah. So like if I did like a Friday news show, it would be Friday Hold My Beer.
There you go.
So yeah.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Friday Hold My Beer.
Anyway, Twitch. Gosh, when was this? This was yesterday. Late yesterday, I think.
I think it was actually today, I think.
Yeah, it was either first thing today or it was like late yesterday. Because I want to say I saw this news before I went to bed, but I was also up till like 3 in the morning. So
yeah,
it's all a little, fluid right now. Anyway, Twitch, not to be outdone. And as Dunkel says, Twitch had a little whoopsie. Yeah, that's one of my favorite phrases. Yeah, I had a little bit of a whoopsie.
Yeah.
So over on 4chan, apparently for sale right now is the source code to Twitch, like all of it, financial records and payouts for streamers, like all of them. There was an unreleased source code or an unreleased program that they have the source code for an Amazon-based Steam competitor.
Yeah.
What else?
Integrated Twitch, I think they had.
With integrated Twitch streaming as part of the client.
Yeah. Let's see. I think they also had data for like some of their other products, like the IGDB and CurseForge. Were part of that too.
It's a lot.
Internal security tools were also part of it,
right?
And I don't think it was for sale. I think it was either someone bought it and leaked it, or they just straight up leaked it,
right?
Because I've already seen it available.
That's true, and actually, I'm seeing here it's 126 gig torrent. I think what happened is Twitch source code appears to have been leaked by an anonymous hacker. Okay, so 126 gigabyte torrent has been uploaded to 4chan.
And they say it's only partial, though. There's more to come.
Right. Which, if this is partial, what the hell else is there?
I don't know, because they said a lot of the code check-ins they were seeing were as recent as this week.
Right.
So it's very fresh.
Right. It's like the current repository.
Yeah.
This isn't like Twitch as of 4 years ago. This is like, this is Twitch. The entirety of Twitch TV with commit history going back to its early beginnings, mobile, desktop, and video game console Twitch clients. This is source code for all this, by the way.
Yes.
Various proprietary SDKs and internal AWS services used by Twitch. So this is their internal tools, monitoring, reporting, software development kits, etc. Every other every other property that Twitch owns, including IGDB and CurseForge, an unreleased Steam competitor from Amazon Game Studios, Twitch system on chip internal red teaming tools. That's not a good one to let go. And creator payouts dating back to 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap, that's a bad leak.
That is a bad leak. And they're like running defense right now. They have to be. I don't know. I don't even know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I guess they'd have to radically change the code in some way so that this is out of date. I have no idea.
You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a product that's 9 years in development.
I know.
Do you just suddenly spin out 2.0? Nope. Like, Steve, what's your timeline on that?
Like several years.
Right.
It'd be impossible to just crank that out. So I really don't know what they're going to do.
One of the programmers going, well, I've been having some ideas.
I got some ideas. I think I could do it in a week or two.
How much time do you have?
Yeah. I think because there's even several people, because I guess there was confirmed that there were username and passwords leaked, but the passwords were still encrypted.
Yeah.
But they still encourage you
to
Twitch.
Switch
Passwords.
Bravo, Twitch, for hashing your passwords. Thank you. This reminds me vaguely of an incident that I had at my previous employer. And there was a very touchy situation that arose based around employment with someone who had a lot of VPN access. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So a lot of VPN access, unrestricted network access. I mean, limited file server access, but wasn't restricted from being on any network or like someone who gets around. Yes. So I was called down to
network slut. Is what
right. I was called down to the CEO's office and said, at 2 p.m. today, there's potential that this employee will no longer be employed here. How quickly can we disable their accounts? And on a normal, 8 to 5er, it's like, give me 30 seconds headway. That's all I need to pull the trigger. But on this one, I went, well, crap. They have access to some of our internal tools. They have some of our internal troubleshooting tools and some of our network layouts. And they have access control administrative access. And they've got this and they've got that. And it's like, well, usually it takes oh, wait, hold on. I'm going to need to work on that. He goes, yeah, go work on that because you have till 2:00. And you'll know by 2:10. So like, get all your ducks in a row and then be prepared to drop that guillotine. Yeah. Okay. So I got me and my two other sysadmins together and said, here's our task for today is we know what the modus operandi is for, disconnecting a standard user, even certain administrator or department heads or whatever else. What happens if we have to disconnect this one? And this isn't a work. I'm standing up at the whiteboard. Like, it's one of the only times in my career that I did this, but I'm standing up at the whiteboard going, what do they have access to? Go. And I'm just writing crap down. The reason that reminds me of that is because they had internal backdoors that we had built specifically for them that didn't necessarily have documentation, that were tools that we used internally. And again, when you're going back to Facebook, when you're thinking about network resilience, you don't want all of your internal tools to be 100% reliant on your internal network, because what if the network went down?
Yeah.
How can I get in and fix? Yeah. And a lot of our network employees were remote. I was one of the closest at 40 minutes away. And So yeah, of course I have a specific backdoor to a router that is, 256 AES encrypted every time I use it, but it's not a standard service that's tied to any other internal service. That if I disable an Active Directory account, guess what? The router is still up.
I'm still up. And you can still get behind there. Yeah.
Right. And so we had to think of all of the services that this person possibly had access to, documented, undocumented, etc. So anyway, the CEO came down. Everything resolved fine, by the way. They came to an amicable agreement, and everything was fine. But it was a great exercise to say, what if this happened?
Right.
The reason this story reminds me a lot of that incident was when the CEO came down and we were discussing like the postmortem about that. Like, okay, we have policies in place now for this. Like, we're designing the policy today on what happens if we have to release a user like that. He goes, okay, great. And I just want to say, if I ever have to have this conversation about the people in this room without one of these people in the room, I'm just going to hand you a knife. Because that sounds way easier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's true. It's like...
Yeah, closing all them back doors, man. It's not easy.
We got a lot of land. We can hide a body. What I can't do is plug all the holes in the router that this guy knows.
That's hard. Burying a hole is easy.
That line has always stuck out in my head.
Yeah.
If I have to have this conversation about you two with only one of you, I'm just going to give you a knife.
Yeah. You're never going to talk. You're never going to know our back doors. You know too much.
And Michael says, and RAID is not a backup.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So yeah, Twitch, not a great day.
Nope.
Facebook, not a great week.
Nope.
Man.
Well, what they lost, Facebook lost, or was it Mark Zuckerberg personally lost $6 billion?
Yeah, he personally lost about $6 billion in stock. Facebook themselves lost over $160 million per hour in revenue. I mean, at the end of the year, as sad as that is to say, that's a rounding error.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of 165 million per hour. That's right around $1 billion for the 6 hours that they were down, give or take.
Yeah.
Times 365 days per year times, 4 times the length of that per day. We're talking, gosh, really quick math, divided by 4 again.
But,
0.02%.
Think of all the increased productivity around the world, though. There's probably a net bonus.
Yeah.
When you calculate all that. Not only that, all the housework that got done.
Right.
Around the world.
But yeah,
my kitchen is much cleaner for
like everyone thinks Facebook lost $1 billion. That's literally a rounding error. Yeah. That is, I mean, quick math tells me about 0.03% of their annual revenue.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be fine.
They are fine. And they were only down 6 hours, which you're right is a long time for a service that big to be down. But as soon as they came back up, there's a few people I know who didn't even know it was down.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, what? Facebook was down? Oh, okay. Well, so I know a lot of people who don't really have a Facebook account. So
yeah. Let's see here real quick. So 365. I just want to make sure my numbers are right. Times 24 hours in a day is 8,760, and then divided by 4 because 6 hours they were down versus a 24-hour day. So 2,190, and hold on, no, that's not right. Never mind. I'm just going to say 0.03%. Someone correct me in chat if I'm wrong, because I'm sure I'm wrong. Maybe it's 0.3%. No, because 0.3 would be 1 day.
Yes.
0.35 would be 1 day. So yeah, 0.03%.
Yeah. So yeah, nothing. I mean, it's more of a black eye than anything.
Right.
And, fodder for the news cycle.
Hopefully it made people have that same conversation. That
other companies, would be like, especially big companies like Twitter and
what
Reddit
happens if
and
this
stuff. What happens if this goes down? Yeah.
Right. Like I said, in my particular situation in small data center Oregon, you know, we realized we had a hole in our policy. We realized that we didn't necessarily have and we kept really good policies. I wrote fantastic policies for disaster recovery, for hardware replacement, for personnel dismissal, for security and encryption and everything. I wrote the book at that place about
Russian invasion a la Red Dawn.
Right.
Did he have a part in there where you have to pee into the radiator?
Right. No, there was no peeing into the radiator unless that's what keeps the diesel engine generator going.
Running. It could be. Yeah.
Totally could happen.
Yeah, it could happen.
But it made us have that conversation. And I hope these two incidents make not only Facebook and Twitch, but everyone else who's reliant on those services have that similar conversation. What is your policy if Facebook goes down? What is your backup? What is your this? What is your that? I have to have that conversation possibly with myself about if YouTube goes down, where does my revenue come from? I'm self-employed now. And as much as I try to be multifaceted in bringing in revenue, YouTube itself, while YouTube themselves only account for about 15 to 20% of my total revenue, it's not like the rest of my revenue is not dependent on YouTube existing.
Exactly.
And getting views and me being popular and being seen. And the way that I'm seen is through YouTube. And so revenue wise, it's like I get more money from pre-roll advertisements and affiliate links and Patreon. By the way, subscribe to the Patreon because you guys are awesome. You're the main reason why I made the decision to do what I did and go full time, because I went, even if YouTube goes away, Patreon is approaching the point where I could pay all my bills. And so literally I use Patreon every month to pay my mortgage and my car payment and that kind of thing. And then everything else kind of goes back into the business. We live fairly below our means, but it's because of Patreon. And so if you thought about joining it, please join it. Not only does it help me out, but it's an awesome community, and I don't just say that.
Very good community. Yeah, it is one of the best. I mean, I'm looking at my Discord right now. I have several communities on there, and the only one that's actually even halfway active with people interacting with each other is ours.
Yeah, I'm in close to a dozen, and I think 11. Okay, 11, not including the 3 that I own. Because I have a couple small ones. But yeah, I'm in 11 like other people host Discords, and mine is like 4 times as active as the next closest.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome. It's an awesome group of people. You can take part in the super secret chat during the live show. We have a Talking Heads channel. We talk about beer and 10 Forward. We talk about movies and music. We have an area. We have a channel dedicated to COVID-19 discussions. And it's the only one that I know of that has not been pulled from any other channel.
Oh yeah, everybody's very civil. I mean,
because everyone's civil, right?
Yeah, everyone's very civil on it. Even when there's disagreements, no one's gotten heated to the point where we had to ban anybody for it. Right.
The only banning that I've had to do is because of weeb crap.
Yes. Questionable. Not just weeb. I mean, we're not.
Yes.
I'm personally not into it, but
yes,
there's some real questionable stuff.
Right. If I have to look,
if there's they're like cockroaches. If there's a little bit of weeb, there's a lot of weeb behind it.
Bro, no, see, she's actually 2,700 years old. She's just in the body of a 12-year-old girl.
That makes it okay, guys. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So, Yeah, it's a weeb-free channel.
Yeah.
By the way.
For the most part.
So if you're looking for an escape from the other tech discords, come give mine a look.
We have a couple of super chats I think we missed.
Yes, I did see those kind of rush by. Let me pull those up real quick. A little bit earlier on, Denver, $5 donation. Thank you so much. Good to see you in the chat. Easier to remove the user than the accounts. Yeah, that was speaking about the, I'm just going to give you a knife. Yeah, sometimes deleting the user is easier than deleting all of the user accounts. Yep. That is completely accurate and exactly what that discussion was about. Big Spoon sends over $4.99. Thank you, Spoon. I know multiple people that called Comcast and reset their routers. Many people thought the internet was down. Speaking about Facebook.
I can see a lot of old people thinking that Facebook is the whole of the internet. I can see that.
You know, for some people, it kind of is.
It literally is, yeah. It's their whole life right there.
I mean, let's... there was an incident about, I want to say 4 years ago at this point. And I'm adding 2 years because it feels closer to me than it probably actually is. And so it feels 2 years ago, but I was almost retired 2 years ago. And so I'm going to say 4 years ago.
Yeah.
About 4 to 5 years ago, where AWS had a major routing issue between the West and the East Coast. And so depending on where your data center was at, and what node you were hosted on in their cluster, you may not have routes to get somewhere else. And so East Coast was complaining we can't access servers on the West Coast, and Germany was saying we can't access Pacific stuff, and all around it went. And that was like 12 hours that went on.
Oh yeah,
and
I remember that. Yeah,
I got a dozen or more phone calls forwarded to my desk as like I'm the boss. I'm the last one that receives help desk calls, and my help desk was so active, my phone started ringing. And not only once, but like a dozen times that day. The internet's down. I can't get onto any of my stuff. It's like, no. So here's the list. It's Netflix, it's Twitter, it's and you go down the list of like everything that you know is affected. Well, I tried to like read my gaming blog. Yeah, IGN is down too because they're hosted on AWS.
Yeah. And a lot of places are hosted on AWS. Yeah.
So this was a similar outage to the AWS outage that happened multiple years ago. Probably 5 or 6 years ago. Sorry, I'm adding a year.
But I mean, the AWS wasn't like a complete outage. It just depends.
No, it was, but it was similar. It was routing issues between data centers and geographically dependent on where your route was coming from.
Mm-hmm. I do remember that.
You know what's great about not hosting your own servers is you don't have to worry about the infrastructure behind it.
That's right.
That's why it's a great thing that today's video is brought to you by Linode. If you've ever thought about hosting your own servers, don't do it. Whether it be for home or business use, but don't have the resources, time, or hardware, power, cooling requirements to invest in, why not let Linode host them for you? If it runs on Linux, it'll run on Linode. That includes the software for most of the tutorials on my channel, like how to run your own ad-blocking recursive DNS servers, VPN gateways, cloud-based Plex servers, and more. And you know what? Facebook might want to look into some recursive DNS servers. Linode makes it simple to deploy and manage your own cloud services, with solutions ranging from a single shared CPU to massive multi-core virtual machines. They even offer dedicated RTX 6000 GPUs for graphic rendering or machine learning. With shared CPU plans starting at as little as $5 per month and scaling up to as high as you need to go, you'll be able to find a hosting plan that fits your needs. And even if you do host your own servers, you can use Linode to keep a backup off-site, because remember, RAID is not a backup. And apparently neither is BGP. Visit linode.com/craftcomputing and get a $100 60-day credit when signing up for a new account. That's linode.com/craftcomputing, and thank you again to Linode for sponsoring today's episode.
Thanks, Linode.
Thanks, Linode. You guys are awesome.
All right. I think we have one more super chat.
Yes. And that is from Alan. Spells his name a little weird, $5, but that's all right. Thank you, Alan. I got hostility outsourced. I got hostilely outsourced last job. Luckily, I don't care about the outsourced company. I don't care, as the outsourced companies suck at their jobs and have actually made $0 budget security worse. Sorry, I'm trying to... I don't care as the outsourced company sucks at their job and have actually made my $0 budget security worse. Okay, I got you. You had $0 budget security, they outsourced your job, and they've somehow done a worse job at it.
Yeah.
Got it. Sorry. My brain was not wanting to interpret that sentence.
Okay. I think I'm ready for my second beer.
I was just thinking that. I went, it's 9 o'clock. It sounds like it's time to open up another pint. Steve, what do you got for your second one?
I think I'm going to do the peanut butter stout for the second one. I'm going to save that yogurt sour for a maybe. If this one's delicious, I may chug it.
Yeah.
Oh God, it smells so good.
Peanut butter parfait.
That's basically what it smells like. Peanut butter fudge,
like dark chocolate fudge and peanuts.
Yes, that's what it smells like.
See, and those are the kind of peanut butter stouts that I like. What I do too. You know, Left Hand, as good as their milk stout is, I don't know that I would want like a creamy milk peanut butter beer. Like, of all the flavors in beer, that one just like doesn't sound the most appealing to me. I usually want a little bit of roastiness or a little bit more of a darker flavor when I'm drinking a dark beer. So yeah, the fact that it's trending more towards fudge with peanuts rather than peanut butter and milk.
Yeah,
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's not peanut butter milk. It definitely smells like a peanut butter fudge or something like that. Like, you know, they have the. It's definitely more chocolate forward. Let me try this. Ooh. Okay, definitely more chocolate than peanut butter, but there is some peanut butter in there, and it's a little on the sweet side, but I kind of like that. It is really good, actually. I would recommend, if you guys can find this, Left Hand peanut butter milk stout. It's very good. And though it's not a nitro, it does feel pretty smooth and creamy. Mainly probably because it's a milk stout, but.
All right. So for my second beer, I am... Sorry, I left you full screen for a while there. Or myself full screen while you were talking in the little one. I've got the Vanilla Chai Latte Wake and Bake Coffee Oatmeal Imperial Stout 2020 Reserve from Terrapin Brewing in Athens, Georgia. 9.4%.
It's going to be a good finisher.
Yes. And I can tell you that chai is very real.
You can smell it, huh?
Yep. So Denver sends over another $5. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for, I don't know why I divided by 4. I should have done 6 divided by the 8760. And I totally see that now, but, 8,760 hours in a year on average, 365. You could add another 0.2254 if you wanted to. And then 6 hours divided by 8,760, which is the outage time that they were down for, is 6.84 times e to the negative 4. So actually 0.006. It's even lower than I thought it was. Essentially 0.007 if you want to just round it to thousandths. So we're talking about 0.007% of their yearly revenue that they lost. They're going to be fine. The chai is real.
How is it, though?
Good night, everyone.
Oh, it's delicious, right?
Oh, my God. That is good. Wow. That is so good and so dangerous.
Is it more of a pastry stout or a standard, just roasty stout? It's bordering between the two.
It's kind of bordering between. It is still roasty. It is still got this coffee roastiness to it. And I mean like a thick black coffee, like
Right.
cowboy coffee, where you just like pour the beans into a bottom of a thermos and set it on a campfire.
Yeah.
Like it's that level of dark roast to it.
Right.
But then there's this real light, playful vanilla right on top, and then it finishes with chai.
That sounds wonderful.
And so it's this thick, heavy roast with this real light, like vanilla frosting on top of it. And then that just dissolves into this really pleasant chai flavor on the back end. Oh, that is
sound really
so good.
That does sound really good. Yeah, I'm happy with this one too. And I got a 6-pack of it too, so I'm definitely gonna have to have more of this one. This one's really good. I forgot to this one was, because yours is a 9%. This one's only a 6.2. Not quite as high, but
yeah, this is a 9.4. And by the way, dangerous. This don't taste anywhere near double digits.
Yeah, you can chug that thing, no problem.
This is drinking like a 6% porter. Like,
so you can sit that down, no problem, and not even think twice about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So and again, the little bit of pastry stout, like, because it finishes so light. Because like I'm used to that, like think of like a bourbon barrel aged stout that's really thick. It has that flavor up front, but then it finishes with just that super light chai in the back, and you go, I could have more of that.
Yeah, so you can keep sipping it.
Right.
That's the dangerous part.
It doesn't feel
like
thick and heavy and overbearing. It's just like, I want more.
Ooh.
Steve, you got it from here? I'm gonna.
I have. Yeah, sure. We got another super chat from Novella Hub. $5. Thank you, Novella Hub. Beer number 2 tonight. Single cut Beersmith. Softly spoken magic spells. Oh, Beersmiths. Beersmith's good. I've had them before.
I have not had that one.
I have not had that particular beer. I've had some by Beersmiths.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not that particular one. I have to. Well, maybe I have. I have to look on my Untapped. There's a lot of times where I think, oh, I never had that before, and I look it up on Untapped. I'm like,
oh, apparently I had it in 2014.
Yeah. Oh, whoops. I don't know.
Oh, Beer Fest. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why I forgot it. Yeah, it was towards the end of the beer festival.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Check in 9:15. Oh,
Usually I can tell if I don't post like a picture or some kind of big long description. I can tell that was like towards the end of like a beer festival. At the beginning of a beer festival, I'm like, oh yeah, it has, hints of tangerine and orange peel and it's very effervescent. And at the end, no picture, and it's like, that's great, man.
John and I got kicked out of the specialty tent at
I remember that,
Portland Brewfest, and all I got was a lousy pepperoni pizza beer.
I didn't hate that beer so much. I thought it was unique.
I did. John and I talked about this last week on the channel about how you and I rate beers, and it starts with, what do they think the beer tastes like? Yes. What's on the can? What's the description? What you eat with your eyes or your interpretation of what this should be first. So if you say light, pineapple, tropical, tangerine, and you're going like, it's kind of grassy and tastes like dirt. It's like, it's nowhere close.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You start at like 2.75 and go down because you were wrong.
Yeah.
You can still be a terrible beer even if the description is accurate, though. And that's where I think you and I maybe disagree a little bit more, because it's like the pepperoni pizza beer. It was pepperoni pizza
it's what it tasted
and a
like,
beer.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought it was like, you know what? This is exactly what this tastes like. Would I have like a full pint and drink a lot of it?
Right.
No, but I didn't hate it. I didn't throw it out.
I think I rated that one a 2.0, and that was being kind because it tasted like pepperoni pizza.
Well, I have to say,
but it was still a terrible beer.
The videos, well, I should say that the first 2 videos that we did. So, for people who don't know, John's moving. He's in the process of moving right now, And so last weekend, me and him went to his house, and we went back to back and filmed a bunch of beer reviews, so he can do a release a week while his studio is being moved. And so we did all of the just gross, disgusting beers, and of course the first one was the grape pickle beer. And I didn't mind the pickle beer. I had the pickle beer before, and I thought it was okay. But this one was really bad. I mean, this was really, really disgusting. But it was exactly what it said. It tasted like grape and pickles. It was not a good combo, really disgusting, but it was absolutely true to its word in its description. And so I gave it a bit of points for that. And then the second one we did was the hot wings one, and it did. It tasted like Frank's Red Hots, but spicier. Again, not a great beer that I just chug, but it was exactly what it said it was, and so I gave it a little bit of a higher score just because of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. See, the description can only result in, I think, negative points. It still has to be a good beer in my mind.
Right.
It can be a good beer, but if the descriptor's nowhere near, you might top out at 3.0.
Yeah.
And so
I would say that too. Yeah. I agree with you on that point. Cause even if it's a good beer, I've had, like you said, IPAs where they say they have all these juicy notes to it. And it's
passion fruit, juicy IPA, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And then I take a sip and it's no, this tastes like a standard dry IPA.
Yeah. It's Cascade double hopped.
It's this is fine. It's a fine beer, but it's not like what you described. I've had a lot of New Belgian beers, especially, are guilty of this, where they'll put oh, we got, we put this ingredient in there and that ingredient in there. And it's I taste none of this.
Yeah. There's no orange zest. There's no.
Exactly.
I don't know what you thought you were doing, but you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hartley sends over a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Harley. I like a nice stealth beer. Everything's great until you try to stand up. That is totally this beer right now. 9.4%, it'll sneak up on you, especially if you can sip it as quick as I feel like I'm going to sip this one. All right, moving on. SteamDeck. We're getting closer and closer to the Q4 late December release. And some of the leaks are starting to come out, but this one is actually not a leak. This is from Valve themselves tearing down the handset for us.
Which is kind of refreshing in a way. And they do say right up front, they say, hey, this is your device. Do what you want with it.
Right.
It's going to avoid the warranty.
No, it
we're
won't.
telling you up front.
It can't avoid the warranty. No, U.S. law.
No, it didn't say it was with the warranty. It said it's going to make
you can compromise
impact weaken the impact.
You can impact other things in the device by taking it apart, which is totally fair.
Yeah. And they give you fair warning about all the things that it could impact.
They went a little overzealous with a couple things, I will say, but it's a video that says this isn't necessarily an instructional video because you shouldn't do this, but if you do, here are the instructions to do this.
Yes.
Is essentially how they phrase it. So Valve themselves put out a video of how to take apart the Steam Deck. At least down to replace both of the joystick modules and to replace the SSD, which is a standard M.2 NVMe or M.2 eMMC module in a 2230 form factor.
Yes.
Now, there's not a lot of 22. This kind of doubly confirms. Gabe Newell actually confirmed that it was a standard M.2 2230 at one point. But there was no mention about whether or not it would be user accessible, user replaceable, upgradable, whatever else. We now know it's a standard drive. It's not soldered on the board, and you can add a different drive to it. However, there are also cautions within that based off both electromagnetic interference, because the SSD that they have included with the Steam Deck is EMF shielded, and also in very close proximity to your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth modules and antennas. And replacing it with a non-shielded drive may actually impact your Wi-Fi performance. And
I couldn't tell from the video. I couldn't tell if the shield was easily removable or not.
It looked to be epoxied onto me.
Yeah, it did not look like it was like something you just pop off.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, but that does confirm that the 64 gigabyte eMMC module or eMMC models starting at $399, it's not soldered eMMC memory on the board. You can still replace the M.2 module with an NVMe SSD.
Right.
Which is fantastic news. So if you want to upgrade the handheld, you totally can.
Yes.
Now, again, that being said, there's not a lot of 2230 form factor M.2 drives on the market.
No, I just looked after I watched the video, I kind of looked myself to see what was out there. I can only find like maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's not that many.
And one of the largest ones is 500 gigs.
Yeah.
Valve is selling a terabyte one.
Yeah, I could not find a terabyte one. I found a lot of 256.
I found a lot of 256, a lot of 512s. Yeah. No terabytes, but Valve is including a terabyte if you buy the terabyte model. So keep that in mind. But this is cool. I think this is the right way to handle things like right to repair, because they lay very plain all of the issues with repairing your own device. The joysticks are not off-the-shelf Xbox 360 or PS Vita joysticks. They are 100% custom joysticks, custom mechanisms, custom PCBs with custom screw holes, and a custom ribbon cable to interface with everything. But we will be providing sources to access replacement parts if you need them. Secondly, while this is an off-the-shelf, quote-unquote off-the-shelf or standardized NVMe M.2 drive, it is a smaller form factor than most. A 2230 is the only size and form factor that will fit in here. I believe this is a single-sided PCB, very much like the GPD Win 3, where, yeah, you can replace it, but it has to be a single-sided module. It can't be a module with chips on both sides because it may impact the board because it's a fairly compact unit. They also said that removing the EMF shield that is normally covering your cooling solution right here over the APU, one of the screws for the heatsink retention. And they said if you don't tension that back properly, or even just by removing that and removing tension on one corner, you could actually disturb the tension on the APU and cause cooling issues. Those are all great points. And while, like I said, they were a little overzealous with some things. You know, if you puncture the lithium-ion battery, it could explode and burn your house down.
Yeah,
it totally could. It totally could.
But who's sitting there using a kitchen knife to try to disassemble their?
Right. The only personal story, first person I have ever heard of a lithium battery explosion, one was me. And it was when I was replacing an iPhone battery. The glue was so tight, to the battery and the phone casing that it actually ripped the casing apart and punctured the battery. Now, the lithium basically ruptured and caught fire, but immediately sealed itself because of the heat. So the plastic like resealed. And I went,
okay. Ooh, there we go.
and I'm in my dining room doing this, and so I ran out onto my back deck and kind of set it down, and okay, I think I'm okay. Managed to finish the repair unscathed. But I have personally ruptured a lithium-ion battery. Now I've also replaced like 100 of them. But
without issue,
But that's a 1% failure rate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
From someone who kind of knows what they're doing. So yes, there's potential if you're doing a lithium battery replacement in a setup that's not ideal. You don't have, and lithium doesn't care if you splash water on it. It's a punch me clown when it comes to that. Lithium is a self-oxidizing fire.
Yes.
The moisture in the air feeds it.
Yes. That's why you don't want to puncture it.
Right. And so, yeah, if you are in a cramped apartment and not near a window, and you could totally burn your house down. You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. Yeah, exactly.
If you got a bathtub nearby, you're probably fine, or a metal sink or something like.
It's just a window. Throw it out the window.
Right now, it's my neighbor's problem.
Yeah, it's just somebody else's problem.
Right. So, but I think this is actually kind of the proper way to address right to repair.
I think so too.
Look, we know some of you are going to open the device. We don't recommend opening the device because there's some things that you may not know about that screws are different lengths and different locations. They're, the lithium battery, you have to be cognizant of this. I hope they're not gluing it into place. I hope it is low strength adhesive or some plastic screw mounts. So it can be easily replaced. But overall, this looked less challenging than most phones I've repaired in the last 5 years.
Yeah. It didn't look too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for what they're saying, like for replacing the controllers and to replacing the SSD. Very simple. A couple screws, and that was about it. And they did say that it will affect the impact survivability. I'm not exactly too sure why.
I don't know about that
because of the tension. Well, because they did recommend using a tension-proof screwdriver to put them back in. Maybe it's the tension of the screws. If it's too tight, it may snap easier. I have no idea. Yeah, it seems like you're right. It could be like they're being a little overzealous. So
it's ABS injection molding. There's some give and take with the assembly. Yes. Screw tension can impact and drop resistance and tolerances between components and things like that. The likelihood of it actually making a difference if you dropped it from 4 feet.
Yeah, you only have to worry about impact resistance if you're giving it to your kid.
Right.
I mean, come on. I'm going to put a death grip on that thing if I buy one.
Yeah. Well, I've got one on reserve, so.
Yeah. You got the big one, right? The terabyte?
No, I got the 256.
Oh, the 256. Yep. Still.
Yep. I've got that on reserve, and I've actually got two different Odin Android handhelds. I've got the Lite and the Pro model on reserve.
Cool.
Because I'm actually really curious on those for cloud gaming, for setting up, my game server in the garage and then having
be able to connect to it. Yeah.
A 6.5 inch Android handheld to link up to it.
See what kind of latency you get, see what kind of performance you get.
Right. Because the hardware inside is pretty impressive. Snapdragon 845, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigs ROM. It's not a bad little system.
No. All right.
Rev says, I thought eMMC was meant to be embedded, i.e. BGA. Yes, but eMMC is also a memory type. And so I know I'm going to get this wrong. A lot of SD cards are actually eMMC modules. A lot of flash memory is eMMC. So USB keys and things like that, where they are non-volatile memory, which means they don't require power to retain their memory state. A lot of the less expensive ones are eMMC. And so that's why we have, 1 terabyte micro SD cards, which that feels weird to say. That's a thing, Steve. I don't know if you know that. 1 terabyte micro SDs are totally a thing.
I did not know that. That's new to me, actually.
Go Amazon. Go look it up.
They have terabyte, really?
Terabyte SSD or terabyte micro SD.
Because the SteamDeck is supposed to support micro SD, and I'm guessing it will probably support a terabyte if they have terabyte.
SanDisk Ultra 1 terabyte micro SDXC, 120 megabytes per second, C10 U1 full HD.
Look at that.
$190.
Sure enough.
$190. $160 gets you a Lexar.
Yeah.
PNY's got one for $194. Yep.
Yeah, SanDisk, SP, Kingston.
Yep.
Yep. There's a few people out there have them.
There's a Broski on here for $25.
No.
I'm sure that's legit.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like a whole terabyte.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've never had much use. I have SD expansion on my phone, and I use that, but that's like, I think there's like 512 gigs on that thing,
Yeah.
and I haven't even filled it up. Got lots of video and pictures on there. Still not even close to being filled.
Yeah. Jeff, when will you make the how to cable manage the back of your rack video? You know what's really funny is I was doing some cable management on my rack today. Because my rack is constantly evolving. It's part production, part home lab. And so I'm always tinkering with things. I'm always changing things. And probably about 60% of it gets made into a video. And other times it's just like, I'm just going to change this thing to see how I like it. And maybe I'll make a video out of that. But one of the things that I did last year was I added my KVM switch to it. And then I bought a full-size rack. And one of my biggest pet peeves is if you have a KVM with a physical interface and then you have a console that slides out and lifts up, is when the monitor covers the KVM up. And so you can't access the KVM buttons to switch what system you're on while you're using the KVM itself. And so I put mine in U42. And so I could reach up and hit whatever button I wanted, whatever I was working on. Well, unfortunately, the cables that came with it were only 5 feet. And it didn't reach the server that I just installed near the bottom of the rack. And so I had to completely pull out all of my KVM wiring and redo it today, just so I could install Proxmox onto a server because I didn't want to pull the server out of the rack. And while I was doing that, I said, you know what? I should probably eventually cable manage the back of my rack like I said I would. So thank you for bringing that up.
Well, there you go. Now you get a video idea.
Mm-hmm.
Just come with a plethora of zip ties.
This is still really good.
I can't imagine it not being really good. It doesn't stop being good after you get done halfway.
Mm-hmm. Now that it's warmed up a little and breathed a little, it's almost starting with like this. It's still dark. It's still super dark fudged coffee.
Yes.
It's almost starting with like this banana cream instead of vanilla now.
You know, I've noticed that too with mine, that
it's
transitioned
just a little bit.
There's almost like a slight fruity note at the front.
Yeah.
When I first take a sip of that. And I like that, especially about stouts and porters, darker beers in general, that as they warm up, they start taking on completely different flavors. And I really like that. Usually for the better.
So who said that? Mystery Technology. If RAID is not a backup, how can I have a RAID backup drive? Okay. RAID is not a backup, but RAID is a tool in both a primary resiliency and backup solution. It's one of the tools you use for those solutions, but it is not the solution itself. People always want to say, well, if I have a RAID 1, which is a mirror, which is I have one drive and then I take everything from that one drive and I copy it to another drive, then I have a backup, right? No, you have an uptime insurance where if one drive fails, one drive doesn't exist anymore, the data is still here. A backup also implies that if something happens to the data, you can recover the data, which means if I accidentally delete a file, I can go back in time and pull that file back. If I get crypto locked and I have a RAID 1, guess what? Both of those drives are now crypto locked. That's not much of a backup. That's why RAID is not a backup. However, RAID, as far as uptime and resiliency, is very useful in both a primary and a backup sense. So both of my servers, both my primary and my backup, both use RAID to make sure the hardware is healthy. And if the hardware is not healthy, guess what? I have two drives that can fail until my data is no longer accessible. And I have that in all three arrays on my primary NAS. And my backup server is one large NAS array, but it also has a 2-drive tolerance. And I have reporting on that. So I know if the hard drives are getting to the point where they could fail, or Smart starts throwing errors or various things like that. So RAID is a tool that you can use in a backup solution, but it is not itself a backup.
Yes. I hope that clears it up.
Yes.
Yes.
It is confusing, but you have to think of it from a not a rant. This is a teachable moment. Exactly. And it's a common misconception. Well, if I have 2 copies of my data, that's a backup, right? No, because the 2 copies exist live and rely on one another. That's not a backup. Because if the only way it's a backup is if one bites the dust entirely, all the data's still here because it's no longer copying all the data from the dead drive. But if I get crypto locked, guess what? They both write at the same time, at the same rate, and check each other to make sure one's not getting ahead of the other. That's not a backup.
Correct. Okay.
Hope that helps.
I hope that helps.
Yeah.
You need one of those the more you know, like animations across the top. Bum, bum, bum.
Not that I meant to do the NBC tones right there. It's the first thing that came into my mind. Shooting star, the more you know.
I think that was NBC.
It was NBC.
The more you know, yeah.
Yeah, because the star flew over the peacock in the
Yes.
90s. Yeah.
That's right.
And you usually had one of the friends announcing whatever the...
All right.
I was trying to think of a joke to put there, but all the ones that I could think of were like...
No, I know. Yeah. Not appropriate.
Not appropriate.
Not appropriate.
Yes. All I could picture was like Ross dancing through a field of wheat for a like genital herpes hat or something.
He's like slowly brushing the wheat.
Yeah,
as he walks
the more
by.
you know. Because that's what you do when you no longer suffer from genital herpes.
Two old people on a cliffside in bathtubs watching a sunset.
Yes.
Typical things that everybody does.
Everyone's been there.
Everybody's done that. You know, so relatable.
And you'll know when the moment's right.
Exactly. When that tub starts draining, you know. When that
Well, we are already naked.
Yeah, yeah. In separate tubs, mind you.
Right.
Well, you know, they can't be in the same because they both have bad backs. You know?
Describe to me what you see.
That was the whole SNL sketch with the lovers.
The lovers' toilet.
The lovers, yeah, no, not the lovers' toilet, but it was Will Ferrell and I forget the other, Sherry O'Terry, I think. Yeah, okay, they were always in the hot tub together.
Oh yeah.
And then Christopher Walken was in there too. And at the end, they'd be like, "Oh, my back!"
Yeah. Yep. No, they were always great. Then you got. I always loved Christopher Walken whenever he was on there. You got the Continental.
Yeah, the Continental. It was Shin-Shi. And what did he say? My lips were glistening with the grease of goat's meat or something.
Yeah. Literally, he in the Continental, he is like what I picture when I think of Zap Brannigan in real life.
Oh yeah. He's an old man though.
Right. And so like, Leela, come over here. It's real velour. Like,
no, my dear, please don't leave.
Don't go.
Please stay here and have some champagne. Yeah, that was a real good
champagne.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Champagne. So great. Moving right along, we do have some beer news to get to.
We do. Just a little bit. First thing, to our Canadian brothers up north, they may not even be aware of this. I wasn't even aware of this, But today is Canadian Beer Day. That's today.
Well,
And the reason,
how good for you.
I know. Then the reason why you probably might not know this is because it was established in 2019. So not that old. And I feel kind of bad because I don't have any like Labatt or anything like that to drink. I have 0 Canadian beers. Um, I can't even think of any Canadian beers I really like.
Oddly enough, I don't know that I have any Canadian beers either. Like,
I don't mind Kokanee. Kokanee's okay.
Kokanee's
Is Kokanee's Canadian, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Kokanee, nice cold Kokanee's okay. But yeah. So I think we have a few Canadians.
Yes.
So to all you guys out there who may or may not be watching or listening, yeah, happy Canadian Beer Day. Eh?
Sec. So Mystery Tech Knowledge asked for the schematics for my USB fan controller that I use for my Noctua AAS from Mystery Tech, or from Major Hardware. There it is. Actually, it's an off-the-shelf device that I just 3D printed an enclosure for. You can buy them on Amazon. They're like $1 a piece. You can buy them in a 10-pack, I think, for like $11.
Yep.
And it's a USB micro step-up voltage adapter. And so it takes a 5-volt input, and it will give as much voltage as you can supply current out of your 5-volt adapter. So put a good adapter on it if you're going to overvolt it. You don't want to be running 16 volts off a half an amp 5-volt adapter. But it works fantastic. And all I did was get a male fan extension cable and then cut the end off it and soldered it to the positive negative on the output terminal. And off we go. It's not PWM.
Simple.
It's not PWM. It's just voltage control. But you can spin this as low as about 3 volts and still get it to run. And so if you want just a real soft fan, or if you want to put a filter on it and use it for a solder smoke remover while at a soldering station, it works for that too. That's actually what I have one of mine set for, is when I'm soldering, it just kind of pulls the smoke away from my face. And yeah, it works fantastic.
Unless you want to get a little bit of a buzz and just let it inhale those fumes.
Yeah.
Just
not gonna lie, I like the smell of solder.
Just take it in. Take a deep breath.
Yeah. 10 pack for $11. They're on Amazon. They're super cheap, and you can on Thingiverse you can find the case. I didn't model the case. I just downloaded one. But yeah, it works great. And all I did was super glue that onto the back of the stand.
So someone in chat saying that Canadian Beer Day was yesterday, but the article I was reading says that Canadian Beer Day is Wednesday, October 6th, which is today. Unless he's in. Well, we haven't got, unless he's in like Newfoundland or something like that.
Right?
Like,
yeah. No, East Coast is already passed. So East Coast would be yesterday. Let's see. Where is Canada right now? Actually, no. The entire eastern seaboard is
still today. Still the 6th.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're brave enough, every day could be Canadian Beer Day.
It's true.
Just buy yourself a 6-pack and chug it.
There you go.
And okay. Should we do the next beer news?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So I think we talked about this maybe last year too. I always thought that this was like the weirdest source for this for this art. So it's a place from Lawn Love, and they primarily focus on lawn care.
Yeah,
but I guess they have an analytics department, and they do a best cities for beer lovers every year, and they do like kind of an amalgam of stats to kind of figure out which cities are the best for people who love beer, and they base it on several different methodologies. I think the criteria is I think what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. One is access. So like how easily accessible is the beer per 10,000 or 100,000 residents?
Mm-hmm.
How many bars, how many craft breweries are there? How many tap houses are there? Then there's establishment quality. So they take how well they're rated, like on Google Maps or on stuff like that. Then there's beer quality. So they look for awards that these particular breweries may have received that are in the city, from I think the Great American Beer Festival, the International Beer Awards, and the World Beer Awards. And they do, I think, with the past 3 years, I think.
Yeah. So it should be no surprise to anyone at all that number 1, number 2, and number 4 are all Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
They are Spokane, Portland, and Seattle in that order, with Denver, Colorado thrown in there for good measure.
Which I've been to Denver a couple times, and yes, their beer scene is pretty good. I still think beer quality per brewery, Portland is better.
Portland ranks number 2. Denver ranks number 4. And so, yes.
3. That's number 3. Seattle's 4.
No, as far as beer quality ranking.
Oh, as far as beer quality, yes, correct.
Portland is number 2. Portland's number 2, like across the board in everything. And then you have variances in the top 5 for all the different things that they rank.
Mm-hmm. I think their cost is pretty high.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. They are pretty high.
Yeah. But yeah, beer quality rank, Portland ranks 2nd. Seattle came in number 1 for that category.
I kind of, I got meeting opinions on that, but yeah, Seattle does have some good breweries.
If you said who has better beer, Portland or Seattle, it's kind of hard to.
It's 1 and 2. I mean, obviously
it's 1 and 2.
It's 1 and 2. It's obviously close.
And it's flip a coin based on what neighborhood I'm in.
Honestly, you're
really
absolutely right. Yes.
Like,
I mean, there's like some places that there's not as many good beer places.
And you go, but have you been to Freem? Oh wait, Freem's in Hood River. Oh, have you been to 10 Barrel? Oh wait, 10 Barrel's down in Bend. Yeah. Like you think of like the overall area, Oregon all the way. But if you think of just Seattle versus just Portland, I see it. I totally see, obviously 1 and 2.
Obviously, yeah.
But which block?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we have Great Notion, which is awesome.
Right.
That's obviously in downtown Portland. We also have a Level, which is awesome. That's right next to
Level Brewing.
The airport.
Seattle has Elysian right downtown.
Yeah. Seattle has Elysian. They have Fremont.
Yep.
So we both have like really good breweries that are smack dab downtown.
Portland's got Widmer.
Yeah. I mean, Widmer's fine.
They're fine, but
when I'm talking like beers that I think are just phenomenal, like you got to try this stuff. Widmer isn't the first thing that comes to mind.
That's true.
Yeah, their beer are fine. I like their IPAs and everything, but when it comes to like, oh, you got to try this, it's like I'm going to take you to Great Notion, or I'm going to take you to like you said, Freem. Or something.
Yeah, you're right. They're not on my brewery tour.
Yeah. Although that was one of my favorite brewery tours to go on, was the Widmer one, because they had like they would show you, the different processes. Here's the grain. This is where we store our grain. This is where we mill our grain. And after each section, they had like this little room, and they had a stand where they had little hors d'oeuvres and little samples of the beer. They said, "Here's a good pairing. Why don't you have a sample of this?" And then we moved on to the next one. And it's like, "Here's another pairing. And try this." And like that, I thought that was neat. I really liked that.
Yeah.
And so that was probably one of the best tours I've been on, because I've been on several tours before, but that was the best one that I ever seen.
Other cities on the list are Cincinnati, Ohio. Surprisingly enough, Salt Lake City, Utah.
I know, it's kind of weird, right?
Like out of left field. Like, really, Salt Lake?
Well, isn't Epic in Salt Lake? I think Epic is in Epic Brewing.
Epic Brewing.
I think they're in Salt Lake. I think they're in UT somewhere.
Salt Lake City. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, and Epic is really good.
Yeah, Baptista. Yeah, Big Bad Baptista is.
Big Bad Baptista.
Yep. Yeah. There's something to be said just for that beer to be on the list.
They probably like short it up for like everything else that they have in Salt Lake City.
Yep. I'm surprised Michigan isn't in here for New Holland. Like, why isn't New Holland on the list?
Yeah, I don't know. I would think. Well, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just because maybe they're not as widely distributed. I guess. I mean, New Holland is, but like we get their standard Dragon's Milk,
right?
But we don't get a lot of their other stuff. So I don't know. Maybe
we
they
did a couple weeks ago.
We did, and that was really good. But yeah, I don't know. But they do list what was the worst cities. They listed as Virginia Beach, Virginia, Bakersfield, California, Fontana, California, Scottsdale, Arizona, Chesapeake, Virginia, yeah, Laredo, Texas.
Come on, give me Lawrence, Kansas.
Plano, Texas, Kansas City,
Kansas. Okay,
Kansas.
I'll take Missouri. Like
Columbus, Georgia, and San Bernardino, California.
Okay, yeah. Yep. Not really a surprise there.
No, not really. Scottsdale. I went through Scottsdale. I could not find anything there that was good.
Yep. Local tip, Portland hosts a number of beer festivals. Check out the Holiday Ale Festival, which is fantastic.
Oh, I've been to the Holiday Ale Festival several times.
Yep.
I just don't like getting in that tent where it's just like tons of sweaty people there.
Right.
They do have some great beers there.
Yeah, it's in like 200-foot tents put together, but it's only about like 25 feet wide. And
yeah, I think it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
but it is a very fun beer festival. And it's usually super cold out by the time it comes around. And the nice thing about it is like after you have a couple drinks, because they're usually good high percentage beers, and then you go outside, you're just so hot and sweaty. You go out and it's cold and it feels so good, and you're a little buzzed, and you go down to like Sizzle Pie and get yourself a slice of pizza. That's an evening right there. And I actually think that the Oregon Brew Festival, which is the one that you and John went to, and you actually still have a video. Is it on your channel or John's?
It's on mine.
It's on yours.
Yeah, the Oregon Brewers Fest.
Yeah. I think that's the second biggest. The Great American Beer Festival is the biggest.
Yeah, it's the second biggest beer fest. It's the largest outdoor beer fest.
It's the largest outdoor beer fest, correct? Yeah. And that's always a fun one to go to. And one of my personal favorites was they actually canceled for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't say this because I kind of want to keep it small. I like it because it's small.
Yeah.
But it's the St. Paul Fresh Hop Beer Festival.
I would say you're either thinking Fresh Hop or you're thinking the Bauman Cider Fest.
No, not okay. The Bauman Cider Fest is pretty.
It's
cool
also
too.
really good.
But no, I'm thinking the Fresh Hop Beer Festival because what it is, the area where we live is a big hop producer, and there's a lot of huge hop farms here. And St. Paul is a kind of rural town, fairly close to Salem. And they do a fresh hop beer festival that's just put on by the farmers who grow the hops. And so all the beers are featured fresh versions of their hops in these beers by these different breweries.
Yeah.
And it's not huge. It's kind of a small venue.
Right. It's like usually like 30 breweries.
Something like that.
And they all bring like 1 or 2 kegs.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't bring a lot, and it's like 2 days. I think it's like 2 days max. It's not very long. It's a really small, but like it's all experimental fresh hop beers from these local breweries that just want to try something new. And so almost every single beer there is just for that festival. And people are like super generous with their pours. They are, I don't know how many times of like people just like, here, have some more tickets, just have some tickets. It's like I bought like the initial package of just like maybe 10 samples. Yeah. And at the end of the thing, I've gone through like 20 and I didn't buy any more.
Yeah, I've walked in there with $20 and had like 60 pours.
Yes, I know. It's like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Just because it's so small and unknown and people are like, don't care. They'll let you do whatever.
Yeah.
And so they canceled it the last 2 years just because of COVID, and I'm kind of bummed that I missed it because it was supposed to happen I think 2 weeks ago, and they kind of canned it. So
Yep.
crossing my fingers for next year though.
Yes. Ready to get into some gaming news because we do
I
have a couple
certainly
of
am.
quick items to get to there.
We do.
Starting with, as of today, the Battlefield 2042 beta is open.
Well, it's the beta for people who pre-purchased it.
Yes.
It's not open for everybody.
Yeah, it's
so
not
if you have
open beta for customers.
Yeah, for pre-purchased people. But this Friday, it's completely open. So if you have not pre-purchased it, you should be able to download it on Friday and be able to beta test it.
Yep.
I actually did do the pre-beta. I don't know if you want to call it the alpha or pre-beta, but I think I'm pretty sure it's the same level because I watched some footage today, and it's the one with the rocket.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. I like it way better than 5. I think Battlefield 5 is probably my least favorite Battlefield. So this one is kind of more going back to like it feels a lot like Battlefield 4 did, in my opinion.
So I have not played it or really even seen anything from it, but I have to say, the reception was very hot and very cold, and really not a lot of middle ground from a lot of people that I follow on Twitter and keep up with, friends and whatnot. Of some people going like, this is just hot garbage. Like it's copy and paste trying to be Call of Duty, and the only thing new about it from 2041 and Battlefield 5 is, hey, they have some new gun animations and they're not trying to microtransaction us to death yet.
Well, they have because when I was doing it, they didn't have the weather elements in there yet.
Right.
Because there's like in this, apparently the beta, there's a big tornado that will come through and kind of screw with you. And I guess it could tear apart the rocket. I think that wasn't in place when I played it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when I was playing it was more focused on just the networking and the gunplay, which I found to be fun. I didn't find it to be a Call of Duty clone. It did seem a little more fast paced, but that's just kind of my play style anyway. I guess if you wanted to play it slow, you could, but yeah. And like I said, I've seen it both ways. I've seen like, this is one of the greatest Battlefields that I've ever seen. It's awesome. It's immersive. The graphics are amazing. And I've also seen like, man, this gameplay just is not for me. It's not innovative. Unless they get flat level design. Mode, unless they get mechs in Titan mode, it's not going to be the best Battlefield.
Fair enough.
It's just maybe the second best. But I am excited for it. I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but I might. I didn't do it because I guess obviously I can't play it tonight.
Yeah.
But I can play it Friday, I guess, and give it a shot. See how it is.
Yep. Rockstar has finally put Agent to rest. That is the next title.
This is going really far back, and I don't know if you remember this.
I do.
I kind of remember this. This is back in 2007. This is how long back it goes. And
this
I remember when this was
GTA 4.
Yes, this was pre GTA 4. And I was excited for this because it was supposed to be like a Rockstar.
83 years.
It was a long time. Yes. It's supposed to be like a 70s James Bond spy thriller game, but made by Rockstar. So it's kind of have like a lot of the GTA elements to it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just like going to be awesome. And when they first announced it, it was just a PS3 exclusive. That's how old it was. It's a PS3.
PS3
exclusive.
Launch title exclusive.
Yes, exactly. And
make sure not to mince words there, Steve.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Launch title. That's how 2007, right? And it's been in development hell ever since. And a lot of people were holding out hope because they kept renewing the trademark for it.
Yep.
But as of, I think, what was it, 2018, they did not renew it, which a lot of people said, well, okay, they might still be working on it because they still released some screenshots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I guess they finally today took it off their website as a upcoming game.
Coming
so
soon,
it's officially dead.
Yep.
And not coming out. Which is a bummer because I love the idea.
I love the idea of a game kind of set in that time frame. We don't have
I love No One Lives Forever.
Yeah.
Those were 1 and 2 were awesome. I mean, it was the 70s, it was 60s, but it's 60s spy type stuff.
Yeah, 60s, 70s. We don't have a lot of PC game or games in general set in that time period. You know,
no,
we wax nostalgic for, you know, Vice City of the 80s and you know, San Andreas in the 90s and things like that. And it seems like every game today wants to be either modern day or World War II.
Well, supposedly Deathloop is supposed to be taking place in the 70s.
Okay.
And that's, I don't know if you've tried that one yet, because I know Dishonored was one of your favorite, and that's the same people who did Dishonored.
Yeah, same Arkham Studios. Yeah.
So I'm surprised you haven't tried that one yet.
It's been on my list. Yeah, it's time.
I know, it's time. It's the same thing, same problem a lot of us have.
Yes.
Just finding time to plug that sucker in. But yeah, no, I was kind of bummed. But you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
If Rockstar says it's crap, it's probably was crap.
Yeah, I would rather them shutter a game that is going to be crap. And at this point, a game that's been in development for 14 years has a little bit of Duke Nukem Forever syndrome. Just kill it and move on. If the idea is good, start over and try again. But not today.
Is there? I can't think of any game that has been in development hell for that long and came out the other side
with positive reviews.
With positive, like overly positive reviews.
Right.
I mean, Duke Nukem was like the king, and they finally released it, and it was very disappointing, to say the least.
You know, there's something to be said about Half-Life Alyx. I'll say that. It's not Half-Life 3.
No.
But it is essentially the new standard for VR experiences.
Yeah, but I don't think it. I agree with you there, but I don't think it was something that was touted.
It wasn't touted.
Ago.
No, it was announced like, 2 months prior.
Yeah, so it wasn't like in development for a long time and then got delayed ad nauseum. I mean, we have two things that could possibly break that mold, which is Half-Life 3, which is now the ongoing joke, right?
Yeah,
you know, it's like, and then we also have Star Citizen.
Yeah,
which could also possibly, you know, break that mold too.
Totally. I've bought into Star Citizen. Not ashamed to say.
Yeah, I have too, but I didn't pay that much for it.
No, I didn't pay a lot. Yeah. I will say I'm more than $60 into it, but I'm not. Oh, I'm not insane.
I'm less than that.
Yeah,
I'm less than that.
I bought a couple of ships when they went on sale. Like I've got my 300. I've also got an Aurora. I've got a couple little ones beyond that. But you know, I don't have giant cruisers.
Right.
No,
but those we won't know until they come out and they get reviewed.
Yeah.
Right. I can't think of too many things that have been in development for like and highly anticipated, and people were always, and it keeps getting delayed, and it finally comes out and everybody's like, oh, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I can't really think of a single example about that.
I will say there's not a lot of studios that I would say are capable of putting a game out there and announcing it, and then 10 years later delivering on that expectation.
Right. No, I think you're right.
If there were a studio, it would be Rockstar. It would be Valve. It'd be Rockstar North.
Yeah. Yes.
It'd be Rockstar North. I'll
qualify that. Yes. Yeah.
It would be Valve. And the list kind of stops there.
Well, yeah, because you have to have a studio that's been around that long.
Right.
There's not that many anymore.
Right.
I think a lot of developers have kind of learned their lesson and have just not announced anything until it's like within a year of release or something
Right.
like that.
I would say the other one would be Blizzard, but Blizzard like 15 years ago.
Yeah, not now.
Not today, but like
Yeah.
if in 2005 Blizzard said we're coming out with X and in 2015 they released it, I'd probably buy that game.
Yeah.
If they announced something in 2009, I ain't buying it today.
Yeah. Gonna wait
Like,
and see.
Yeah. So it's a very short list of companies and studios and game developers that could pull something like that off. And it says something that Rockstar pumped the brakes on it.
Yes.
So-
And that's what makes me think that it was obviously not up to snuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Bethesda and BioWare. Maybe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even put that up to BioWare. Bethesda, yes.
yeah.
In some regards. I
think Bethesda just like, there's a little, especially if it's their Elder Scrolls. They kind of like, if it's a little buggy, it's kind of the charm of it, right? So they'll just let it go anyway.
And there's something to be said for bugs that don't necessarily completely break the experience, or even if they do, it becomes part of the experience. I mean,
yes, exactly.
Look at how buggy like every Bethesda RPG has ever been.
Oh yeah.
Every one of them.
But it's become almost part of the charm because as long as it's not game breaking, frustratingly game breaking, I think they kind of just let it slide. I think I think there's probably some unwritten rule in their QA that says, if if the giant smacks you with a club and you go flying 10,000 feet in the air, don't log that as a bug.
We're just going to call that a feature.
We're going to call that a feature.
We're even going to leave it in the VR version and release that as a $60 standalone game.
Yeah.
Godspeed, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tech Potato making an appearance. Whoa, I'm awake. Right. I'm almost out the door for vacation, but I'm awake. You know what?
Hey, have a fun vacation.
You have fun on your vacation. You deserve it. If anyone does, you deserve it. Remember StarCraft Ghosts? Sad whistle.
Oh yeah, StarCraft Ghosts. Yeah. Well, that was probably another one that was like not going to be good.
The announcement in what was that 98, and they didn't officially cancel it till like 09 or 010 or 10.
Yeah, I know. I remember that. A lot of people were looking forward to that.
I was totally looking forward to Ghost.
Yeah. Someone mentioned Daikatana was another one that was like really hyped up. That was in development hell for a long time.
Yeah.
And when it finally got released, it was hot garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, the quirkiness of the Fallout series is always interesting. Yeah, Rev says for Fallout 2 was Interplay. That was not Bethesda. And so, no, Fallout 3, very buggy, based off of a slightly beefed up Morrowind engine. And then they came out with Skyrim, and then they pumped out Fallout 4, which was based off a slightly beefed up Skyrim engine. This is all a lot of the same core code.
Right. A lot of the engines are the same.
Right.
Yeah. And they're really pushing it now.
Right. But yeah. The Bethesda RPGs, I think, kind of stand alone in that it's okay for them to be a buggy mess because the gameplay itself it's not even the best gameplay. It's just some of the best storytelling, and you want to find out more about characters that literally have 3 lines. And they made them interesting and engaging enough, even though they're all voiced by the same goddamn person. There are 3 voices in Morrowind, and we played the crap out of that game.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. We just loved it. It was just the way the landscape was and the vast the exploring. It was fun.
Yeah, you get to Oblivion. Halt! You have broken the law. What is there, 1 guard in this entire place? What the crap?
They all sound the same.
Yeah,
and it's the whole clones.
At least Skyrim had 7 voices. I mean,
yeah. You couldn't have Patrick Stewart in Morrowind, at least. No, it wasn't. It was Oblivion.
Oblivion.
It was in Oblivion. That's right.
And he was in there for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
they killed him.
Beginning.
Hashtag spoiler alert.
What? I think wasn't Liam Neeson in Skyrim then? Who was in Skyrim?
No, it wasn't Liam Neeson.
Who was? Because they did some kind of star who was the same thing with like Patrick Stewart, where he was just kind of there for a couple of lines.
Yeah. Let's see. Featured voice actors.
Christopher Plummer.
Yeah, Christopher Plummer was in there.
And Michael Hogan, who is in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. Okay, so there's more than 7 actors, but
okay, there's a few.
It just feels like it.
Okay. No one as big as Patrick Stewart, but yeah, anyway. Right. Yeah. Oh, wait, Sean Bean. Was Sean Bean in there?
Kerry Walgreen is in Skyrim.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
so there's your
Sean Bean.
So there's your B-list celebrity.
I don't see him listed on IMDb.
It's the only one I'm seeing. So, all right, and last but not least, we've got one more bit of news to get to before we call it a show, and that is that Rockstar's latest game launcher includes strings mentioning the GTA Remastered Trilogy, referencing GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas.
That's right. So there's a lot of rumors floating around that there's going to be a remaster version of, some of the Grand Theft Auto classics there. And apparently it's going to be using Unreal tech. So from what I understand, and this is, again, just all rumor, that the upgrades for graphics are going to be minimal. They're not going to replace the models or anything like that. But there could be some upgraded textures, higher res textures, better shading, better UI, scalable UI, that type of stuff.
Right. Widescreen support for one.
Widescreen support and stuff like that. So
let's start
look
there.
Nicer. Yes. Yes. I know. Without widescreen support, almost all those games are unplayable. I tried doing San Andreas again a couple years ago, and I just couldn't do it. It just looked weird. But yeah, I mean, Rockstar is kind of the king of milking their IPs. I think they're going to be doing a release for the next gen for GTA 5. So it's going to be the third time they release GTA 5 for consoles.
Actually, this brings up a good point from a couple weeks ago that I didn't get to, and that is that Rockstar, or Take-Two, has sent takedown notices to decompilation projects for San Andreas, Vice City, and GTA 3.
That also points to this then.
Yes, and so the reason being was because they are planning on releasing a remaster trilogy. Yeah. So that news broke a couple of weeks ago, and I think it broke during our 200 show, and so we just didn't
quite get to it. Okay.
But so GTA remaster trilogy of the original 3D titles, which are all still good games.
Oh yeah. San Andreas is still one of my favorites. I love San Andreas.
I got to go Vice City. I got to lean Vice City, but San Andreas is still
Vice
fantastic.
City was great too, but there's some missions in Vice City that were just so frustratingly hard. Not to say that San Andreas didn't have some too. I think Vice City had more. What was it? There's that
you got to catch the train, CJ. All you had to do was keep up with the train, CJ. That's San Andreas. That's why I lean Vice City. So I don't have to follow the damn train, CJ. Shut up, Big Green.
I didn't have a problem with that mission. Apparently, I got lucky.
Yep. Some people chiming in with famous voice actors. Apparently, Michael Dorn is in Fallout 2 as a recruitable NPC. Yes, he is. Michael Dorn also appeared in another. Troy. Gosh, drawing a blank on the name. Help me with the name. Deanna Troy. Marina Sirtis.
Oh, yeah.
She is the voice of Mass Effect. She's the evil chick in Mass Effect.
The assassin?
No, she's the Asari matriarch. Matriarch Benezia.
Oh, right.
She's Benezia
Okay.
in and Michael Dorn makes a number of appearances in a number of sci-fi games as well.
Mm-hmm. Fight me like Saints Row is better than GTA. Saints Row is fun. I liked Okay, whereas GTA kind of went from silly to more serious.
Yeah.
Saints Row went the exact opposite.
Went
they
from
were more serious to
quasi-serious
super
to
silly.
like, screw it, 3-foot
Yeah.
dildo.
Yeah, exactly,
Go.
exactly.
Yeah,
Which
no.
I like both of them. I liked Saints Row 3 and 4 was a little it was okay, but
I
3
didn't
really
like
liked.
4. 2 and 3 were amazing.
2 and 3 were fun. Yes,
Yeah.
those were a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I have very fond memories of Saints Row. I will say I didn't play Saints Row nearly as long as I played GTA. Like, I could always come back to GTA and just start up a new game and play a quarter of the way through and have fun.
The fun thing about Saints Row, especially 3, I don't think 2 was co-op, but 3 was co-op, and so was 4. And I played 3 co-op, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but no, I love Saints Row. Like I said, 4 was a step down. Gat out of hell. I'm going,
Yeah.
But you're now the president of the United States, and
that's why I said they went silly.
They went
just really crazy silly. You're the president of the United States. The aliens are
with
invading.
Saints Row 4, I felt they went a step beyond silly into just straight up absurd. Like at least with 2 and 3. There was some semblance of sarcasm baked into it, and it was still grounded in reality in some way, shape, and form. It was more of commentary on that lifestyle than anything else.
Right.
Just taken to the extreme, when all of a sudden it's like, yes, gang member Gat is now the president of the United States and we're under attack by aliens.
Yes, I know.
More at 11. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I just went, I'm okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. I didn't like 4 as much as 3, but yeah.
All right.
Well, I think we got this thing. We got this thing done.
I think that's a show.
It is.
It was a good one. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Non-stop action.
Yes.
An adventure.
And a Dr. Cuttress made an appearance.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go. We've also got the net guy was in here earlier, and couple others kind of floating around. So thank you all for watching, and thank you all for watching. Even if you're not a famous YouTuber. If you liked this episode, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. Make sure to catch me in the podcast form of this show over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. Head on over to craftcomputing.store, grab yourself a pint glass, hoodie, t-shirt, or any other number of things that I happen to be carrying right now. Steve, anything to plug in some upcoming Hops and Brews?
I think I'm in the next 2 Hops and Brews videos. That's about it. Maybe I should do something. I don't know, so I get something to plug. Right? I got a built-in audience that's ready to go consume whatever garbage I put out.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter, Craft Computing. Go over to Hops and Brews and subscribe to his YouTube channel. John over there. Occasionally we make guest appearances, and it's a lot of fun. Although I haven't done one in about a year, and I've been feeling antsy. Like I need to do another. You should go over there
and do one. Well, you're gonna have to wait until he moves. But,
I have to wait till he moves, and also my wife is 8 months pregnant, so we're kind of in full lockdown right now.
Right. Yeah.
With everything going on, even though we're fully vaccinated and have been since March, we're still like, I don't trust all of you.
I don't want to go anywhere.
As my Twitter bio says, I'm pissed off that 40% of you can't act like adults.
I think there's a lot of people who have gotten used and have really enjoyed the social distancing. It's like, stay away, go away. That's fine.
They're like, there was talk about like lockdown and social distance, and I'm like, that's not normal.
That sounds great to me. That's an excuse not to go.
The only thing I haven't done is gone to a Blazer game. End of list. That's been my sacrifice.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all so much for watching episode 204. This has been a lot of fun. Catch us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news right here on YouTube. And as always, we'll see you next